I'm out here tonight to externalize something I've been feeling for a long time, but I've been struggling to actually implement. And that's this trend I've noticed where addiction has really commodified the human experience. Where it's so easy to turn to these addictions that it makes it difficult to just sit with your feels for a moment. What was really a wake-up call for me was the other day I woke up and my YouTube app wasn't working. And really that threw off my whole morning. Like for the first hour or two of the day, I was just like, fuck. I was feeling down. I was not knowing what I was gonna do with myself even. And it's like, dang. I just had to sit there with it for a minute. And sure enough, I turned on my Wi-Fi, turned it back off, and YouTube was fixed. There wasn't really a problem, but I was really panicked for a second there almost. Like, oh, like I was jonesing for my YouTube fix. And I know I'm pretty reliant on YouTube in my day-to-day to kind of fill in the time. But I never really realized to what I think everybody's like that. They don't really realize to what extent it affects them until they have a moment like that where it's like, oh shit, this is real. And it really made me realize I need to make some changes because I don't want to be falling back on these addictions is the main thing. Like, I'm very pro-drugs. I love drugs. I'm a big fan of them. I love the altered headspace. I love getting a different perspective. So for me, I definitely have a bit of a hyper-obsession on drugs in that sense, and I was a goody two-shoes growing up. I was a bit of a late bloomer to this whole drug thing. But when I finally got to it, I slotted in so comfortably with it, particularly with weed there. It's just been something that it's definitely helped me headspace wise in terms of just being able to relax, take a load off, but also to self-analyze for sure. But I think we've all fallen into, all being like society, a very dangerous spot where we all acknowledge the role addiction is playing in our everyday life. Like, we could all acknowledge that, oh, we're doom scrolling, we're spending too much time on our phone, we're bed rotting. Like, we've come up with terms for these things. But it doesn't change. Like, we continue going on as it is. And a lot of that is because addiction has commodified the human experience in my mind. Like, it used to be you woke up and you had to figure out what your day was. You had to kind of do something, you know? You had to find out what the world was going to be for you today. But for me now, like, I always wake up, I turn on YouTube, something to have in the background, and I'm very aware. Sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be like, oh, I don't even have the energy to watch YouTube. YouTube would overstimulate me at this point in the morning. But despite having that awareness, I keep doing it. Because obviously, phone, scrolling, YouTube, it's an addiction. And it's very hard to change some of these things, for sure. But I do want to, like, and the thing I don't like about it is that falling back on it. Like I said, like, I'm a big fan of psychedelics because psychedelics, it's like, you do it, and you might have a great euphoric time, you might have a great sense of inner peace come from it, but at the same time, it is tremendously exhausting. Like, I do any psychedelic, and I'm like, I don't want to do that again. And if I try to do that again, the universe gives me whiplash. It's like, why are you trying to do this again? Weed, my concern with it is it's too easy to fall to in a place of desperation. Like, it sucks when you wake up and you feel like you're fighting an uphill battle all day. And when you get to that point in the day where you're just like, I just want to relax now. I'm done fighting this uphill battle over nothing, right? Like, why am I just having such a struggle with this day? And then I find I turn to weed, even though I have an awareness that it isn't making anything better. It isn't even gonna turn my day around, for sure. It's just gonna give me it just puts me in a bad headspace. Like, I could be more aware, but like, when you smoke weed and the first thought out of your mind is, this was a bad idea, my body feels worse, but my mind is more, it's familiar, it's a place of homeostasis for me at this point, smoking the weed. And it's definitely, like, I have to acknowledge that it is very difficult for me to not, because I just become so dependent on it, for sure. Even if I could acknowledge, I often feel better without it. And I hear similar sentiment from my coworker. He'll say like, oh yeah, 9 times out of 10 I smoke the weed and I feel worse. But on the same hand, he'll say, oh, I always gotta smoke weed before I play a video game. I can't play a video game without smoking the weed. And it's like, but you acknowledge that 9 times out of 10, it makes you feel worse. It doesn't make you feel better most times. And it's so easy to bend over backwards to try to justify why we're doing what we're doing addiction-wise. Like, for me, it'll be like, well, it kind of makes my body feel like shit nowadays. It is kind of putting me in a state of arrested development, or state of stasis. But like, it helps in some ways, but at a certain point, it's like the math ain't mathing, right? Like, you're doing plus 10 to your vitality, or no, rather minus 10 vitality and plus 10 awareness and plus 5 inner peace. Eventually your vitality stat is so down the drain that, like, it doesn't matter that it's upping your other stats. You need to be so honed in on the fact that your vitality is critically low. Like, your HP is 0.0001. Like, and that should be horrifying to us, and it is horrifying for a lot of us, but it's so hard to make that change because it is, like I said, an addiction. And I hate that it has become commodified, and I've kind of trailed off the whole commodified point, but like, I used to be able to go for a walk like this and just and be sober, and the walk would get me to a state of homeostasis, right? Like that day where I was just like fighting that uphill battle that whole day until I smoked weed. I could have went for a walk. I could have worked out. There's so many things I could have done to turn my day around. So I went from going uphill to going downhill. And I feel like the problem with these drugs is it's such a massive contrast. And not drugs necessarily, but any form of addiction, phones, whatever. It's like it could change just like that. Snap of fingers and you're out of the headspace. Or you're at least in a different one, but it's too different of a state for me, I'm realizing now. It's not good for balance, because what I find is I'll be pushing that boulder up the hill, right? Fighting the uphill battle. And then I am free falling when I smoke the weed. And it feels good to free fall every now and then, but just the constant back and forth from the uphill battle to the free falling, it's like, it can make you it makes me feel very ungrounded. And I'm so happy that I could be out here just filming this video, and the walk is giving me the sense of homeostasis right now, instead of doing the weed. Because, like, I hate that, like, I used to be able to go out in front of the house and just stare at the stars. But now it's like, well, that's just like an excuse to smoke the weed. And like, I enjoy going out and smoking the weed and staring at the stars. So it's very hard to be like, oh, I'm just gonna quit this now. I'm just gonna not do it. But yeah, what I enjoy is staring at the stars and enjoying nature. The weed is kind of superficial, but it is medium in which I could get outside, right? It gives me an excuse, right? And in that sense, addiction has very much commodified the human experience, because that isn't what made the weed special. Like, the weed was special because I was hanging out with friends and having a special night. But you can't replicate that shit. And I think these drugs and addiction, weed, phones, like, we're all trying to replicate something and get back to something that worked for us. And it just doesn't work like that. Like, what made that moment special that you're trying to chase was that it was fleeting. It was a moment in time and captured in crystal. Very beautiful, but also, like, you can't just go about making crystals everywhere and expect these crystals to be special, you know? A crystal special because you went outside and you saw the northern lights, right? Like, that's something that, like, it doesn't... If we saw the northern lights in the sky every night, it wouldn't be special anymore. And yeah, that's really just what I'm trying to say with this video, is I really implore anybody who's struggling with addiction to just kind of think, what can I do to get whatever this addiction is giving me, right? Because obviously that is something they say about addiction, is you should really be like, why am I doing this, right? Like, what is the motivating factor behind this behavior? And for me, it's both escapism and comfort, but also awareness. It gives me a deep sense of peace, right? But yeah, like, I loved that I was able to take acid and then watch my Jungle Book Your Year. That was like a transcendent experience for me. But I was deeply exhausted after that too. Like, that, it is a drug that can take a lot out of you, certainly. And it took a lot out of me then. And to think I could just take acid again and replicate that experience would be foolish, right? Like, experiences like that only happen because I was open. I was open on acid. I was bored. I was watching the interview of Rhyme Kickflips, interviewing the creator of Sparkle on Raven Girl after I finished Sparkle on Raven Girl. And I'm like, My Jungle Book Your Year? That sounds like the best name for a show I've ever heard. Like, obviously taking that Western influence from Jungle Book and the Your Year, like very much like an anime title. And I was like, I have to check this out. And I checked it out, and it was a transcendent experience, like I said, and it was so amazing and beautiful. But it would be foolish to think I could replicate that in any way, because there was parts of that trip that weren't good. Like, halfway through my Jungle Book Your Year, I was getting a headache, and I figured, I need to go get something to drink and something to eat. And I went up, got something to drink. I was figuring out, dang, this ice cream up here, the texture on it is weird. And I was stuck on that for like an hour. And I was like, no, this ice cream is just gonna have to go back in the freezer. Like, that was stressful. But it's easy to forget the bad parts too. And I think this is something we could all... The nostalgia is like... I often think back and I think, oh, that was the best of times, that was the worst of times. Because it's easy when you're looking on something you're nostalgic for to remember only the good aspects of it. But there's often the full gambit of human emotion surrounding that positivity, that transcendent experience that you're nostalgic over. And that's kind of what made that experience transcendent to begin with, in my opinion, is the fact that it was around this negative experience, right? That it did transform. And I really like Trixie in her new vlog. She revealed the full quote of "Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought him back." And I think that's really what I'm trying to say here too, is that it's easy to be curious and then face the consequences of that and get into a state where you're just kind of feeling bad. You're not feeling good. But the fact that you get through it and that you get to a better place, that's where the satisfaction comes in. It wouldn't feel good going home and lying down if you didn't feel like you had a productive day. You'd just feel like, damn, fuck. You just feel, me personally, I'd just feel bad. So, like, Silksong is a good example of this. Like, I've been loving Silksong, and recently I was exploring a new area. I was like, oh, I'm getting in the game. I'm just gonna go back, explore some new areas. And I explored the new area, but the new area took me to another new area. And then I'm getting to the very end of this new area, and it's tense, and I'm scared, and I'm really like, oh my god, if I die now, this will be so bad, because the bench is like 2 areas back. And I just felt like so scared, and like my nerves and my heart, everything was on edge. And then something horrifying happens. And I don't want to spoil the game, so I won't get into too much detail, but needless to say, the game took that fear and it said, oh, you don't know nothing yet. Now I'm gonna show you true fear. And then I'm in a completely unfamiliar world, even more unfamiliar than the rest of Silksong, and there's a satisfaction to when I get out of that, I'm lost in the dark, right? And when I find the light again, the light is gonna shine so much brighter. And that's the beauty of Silksong for me, is I love the difficulty. I love how punishing it is, because you're trekking through this unknown world, this beautiful world full of mystery and wonder, but also full of horror. So when you're really suffering through the world, it feels like, dang, this game it could be a lot. But when you do get to that bench, when you hear the singing of an NPC, you hear the singing of the map seller, Sherma, it just feels, it's transcendent. And it's only transcendent because you've trekked through this unfamiliar world. You suffered through this unfamiliar world to get to that bench, to get to that map. And through doing so, you gain a greater understanding of the world, a greater understanding of yourself, and a greater sense of peace. That, like, I could do that again. Like, I could fight any boss now because I beat that guy. And that's really... Yeah, I'm trailing off a bit here now because I'm losing my train of thought, but that is ultimately, yes, that's, I love that quote. Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought him back. Like, you don't get to feel the satisfaction if you aren't curious, if you're not learning, if you're not out there getting these experiences. And also, I just realized Trixie didn't make that vlog. It was a video Trixie put in her community tab that by a good creator. I'll have to put the name on screen because it's a very good video. You should all watch it. But I think I've made all the points I want to make here. This lane music is so good. Oh my, I didn't even test this before I started doing it, but if you could hear the lane music at all, I'm just so happy you're hearing it. Oh, we out here tonight. Yeah, but that's the takeaway for this one. If anybody's struggling with addiction, just acknowledge that there was a way in the past that you used to be able to feel these feelings, to experience these experiences without the addiction. That the addiction is just a medium, just a vacuum in which you could try to get that back somehow, but it's a false promise. The society is selling you this. They're selling you the idea that if you take this drug, if you scroll on this phone, you will get this feeling that you're after. You will get this homeostasis. But it's not real. Reality is in the eye of the beholder. And they're trying to feed you. They're trying to say, hey, give me $1. and I'll give you what you want. But I don't know what I want as a human being. I'm out here making this video because I'm figuring that shit out. And only way I'm gonna figure this out is if I keep externalizing, keep making these art vlogs. And I encourage you all to be curious. Go out, make your own art vlogs. Do what you gotta do to make sense and try to better understand what you want to do in this world. It's like Trixie put out a video saying it's important to understand what you're doing and to be able to explain all parts of the process. Like if you're gonna pitch a movie, you had to be able to explain the atmosphere and not just say, oh, I want this. You need to be able to explain what that looks like. And I don't know what my life looks like. I don't know what I want my life to look like. But I have a lot of ideas. And the only way I'm gonna figure out which ideas fit and what the puzzle is really gonna look like at the end of the day is by getting out there, fucking around, and finding out, right? Life is an ever-evolving puzzle with no solution. But sometimes the puzzle will seem extremely clear, and sometimes it'll seem extremely blurry. And that's the thing is, yes, you can't always feel like you have it all figured out. And these addictions, they're trying to sell you the idea that you should be happy all the time, that you should be. And I'm a bit of a hedonist too. Like if I could be feeling amazing all the time, I would be. I'm a person who I'm struggling through a lot every day right now. And the only way I could cope with it is by doing something like this. Because doing those drugs or addictions that is like a move of desperation that I'm falling back on, that doesn't feel good to me. I know I'm not addressing the problem, but this, in some weird esoteric way, feels like addressing the problem to me. And if it works, I want to keep doing it. And I'm hoping that this can resonate with someone else too. I mean, mainly the reason I'm doing it is, like I said, externalization. I'm a big believer in the power of externalization, and I'm very much repeating myself in this vlog, but I don't want to edit it because I believe it humanizes this vlog, and I very much want to make more scripted art, more thoughtfully made art in the future. But I think for right now, this is something that I need. I need the art therapy vlogs, both from Trixie, from other creators, and I need to make them myself, for myself, and for anybody that could glean any sort of meaning or truth from it or any sort of guidance. I want to be able to make a difference in this world, both for making a difference for myself too. Like, yeah. And anyway, I think I've said all I want to say, and I'm definitely kind of looping around. I've said all I need to say, so. You to understand, a shame you seemed an honest man, and all the things you hold so dear, in your ear. No, it never hurt you. You know what the thing to my eyes. You don't seem to feel the same. I am falling, I am faded, I have lost it all. Hallelujah. I am falling, I am fading, I am yawning, help me to breathe. I am hurting, I have lost it all, I am losing Help me to breathe. Yeah, I'm not doing anything special here, and that's empowering. Anybody could do this, and if you feel like this would help you, do it. Make your own art vlogs. Do whatever, experiment, and see what can bring you inner peace, what can bring you homeostasis. That's what I'm saying on my walk today. I'll see you on the next one, I suppose. Love you, and bye-bye.